It blows me away into utter oblivion that Donald Trump's supporters claim to be loving Christians, claim to be devout and dedicated people to God who understand and practice throughout every day of their lives the traditions of the Holy Bible. This is so absolutely perplexing to me and puzzling because the guy is the antithesis of everything that the Bible stated. He has broken the seven sins like a countless number of times. It's like it's so bad that it's hard to pull a certain instance out of all the conglomerates of things that Donald Trump has done in the plethora, the endless scale, because he does it every single day. I can name some examples, and I'm going to. So the seven deadly sins Donald Trump has exhibited by breaking them, I'd say on a daily basis. I mean, he just, the other day said that he'd deport Rosie O'Donnell. He wants to revoke her citizenship. Like, this guy's going full-blown dictator. Like, the very language, you can tell this guy does not care about anybody but himself by the language that he uses, the way the terms that he says, and the way he conducts himself every day, dating back way to 2016 and throughout his entire career. That's the type of person Donald Trump is. He is the exact epitome of what it warned in the Bible. He does everything he can to try and look as if he's a Christian. That's why he has so much diehard supporters, because people who claim to be Christian think that he cares about them when he does not. He is playing them. He is using them and deluding them. And where's my proof? He breaks them every single day. He breaks every sin every single day, habitually. So number one is pride, which is excessive self-esteem or arrogance, being vain in yourself, basically. And Donald Trump breaks this every day. He says, I'm the only one that can do this, and I'm the only one that can fix this. I'll have these wars settled. I'll be able to negotiate. I'm the best negotiator in the world, and the best president we've ever had in American history. I'm the best president for blacks. I've done the best for Latinos, even though he's deporting them, even though he's contributing to poverty by doing things to rip away programs for the middle and lower class, which disproportionately affect black individuals. So it's all lies. And it's just constant, incessant arrogance. And that's exactly what this is. The guy thinks he's better than anybody else. He said that he's the chosen one while holding an upside down Bible, by the way. Number two, greed. This one's self-explanatory. And this ties in with power and excessive possessions. Donald Trump is known for exploiting workers, constructing on Trump Towers and many other flashy self-promotion and inflated deals to enrich himself and enrich his family. He's invested in crypto. He's taken $230 million from Israel and millions of dollars from other super PACs to try and sway him, and offering favors and to do in return for cash to further enrich himself. He's taken, I think it was a report like $30 million, and I know a certain amount, but I don't know the specific amount, but he's taken a huge amount of money during his presidency, which is illegal, by the way, from Saudi Arabia. He sells them cheaply made products, and he is the epitome of crony capitalism. He sold a Bible. This is another thing. Donald Trump literally defaced the Bible. He defaced the Bible. Think of how disrespectful that is to our Lord. And think about how selfish that is, to write your name on the Bible. Are you serious? And then people will stand by him and say he was sent by God. It's bewildering, my friends. It's flabbergasting to see this, and it's really pathetic and pity. Lust. Oh my God, this one should be. I shouldn't even have to say anything for lust. The sexual desire, uncontrolled sexual desire that's not driven by love, but by sexual attraction. Do I even have to explain this? Like, the guy won't even release the Epstein files because he knows he's guilty. He knows that he has done many things, and we'll go over them. So he had to pay, I believe it was, $5 million because he was adjudicated of sexual assault and was found liable for raping E. Jean Carroll. And his story kept pivoting, it kept changing, it kept going all over directions, and kept being a scatterbrain, going all over, and very inconsistent story. He said that he was there, he was this, he was there, and then he, in the deposition tape, this should actually be held against him, but in America, if you're rich, you can get away with breaking the law and forestall the process because you have money. You could just pay lawyers and then we'll get it settled out for you. But he's literally ahead of the law. He's above the law. He shouldn't be, and neither should anybody else. Nobody should be above the law. If you're guilty, you're guilty. If you're innocent, you're innocent. It shouldn't be determined based on how much wealth and influence and power you have. But that's what it is. But he said that if Ivanka weren't his daughter, he'd be dating her, his own daughter. That's incest, and it also severely condemns that in the Bible. He bragged about Howard Stern that he was able to get away with, and was flashy about it, and boasted about being able to go behind the stages of his many pageants across New York City and New Jersey, and go behind the scenes while his teenage pageant contestants were getting undressed and dressed. And this was confirmed by many of them. He bragged about it, said, in the middle of the show, before we go to a show, I often sneak back the stage and I can get away with that sort of thing while you see these naked women, they're getting dressed and everybody's has no clothes on. And he says he gets away with it because he's the owner of the pageant, and therefore he can just rub it off as inspecting people while they're getting dressed. Like what world are we living in where this is okay? Like, if someone did this to you, you'd be freaking out. But, like, since Donald Trump's doing it to somebody else and it's not you, you don't care. Like, it's just the lack of empathy. That's another thing. What's some other ones? Again, so many it doesn't recall to mind. He said that he was asked on The View what he has in common with his daughter. And he said, I'd like to say sex. Like, who says that about their daughter? That is obscene. And do people not understand this, or like what? But the guy's the president of the United States. He said that the wealth and the power, because he's a star, and that goes back to the number one, the pride, where he says he's a star. When you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything, and then grab women by their genitalia. This was when he was 60-some years old, by the way. He's never changed. Also with lust. He was accused many times of rape, and the consistency of the story prevails and makes it more validated and trustworthy. But he's been accused of rape, and it lines up now. People are saying, "Oh, well, they're just making it up." It lines up because Trump won't release the Epstein files to disprove that he wasn't guilty. Because if he wasn't guilty, he would release the Epstein files. But that's not what he's doing because he knows he's guilty. He knows he's very, very much complicit in pedophilia and child sex scandals and sexual misconduct and rape and many things that we don't even know about. And this runs in the family too, apparently, because Donald Trump Jr. called his daughter Kai sexy. Like, who says this about their daughter? Like, it's not okay by any stretch of the imagination. You can be right, you can be left, you can be anywhere. That's not okay. That's not acceptable. That's not validated. In fact, it's inexcusable and completely unwarranted. You can't defend the guy. It's indefensible. But people manage to do so. But then they don't know about all this stuff because they don't watch the news, because they believe they can just know everything without looking into anything. And again, it's not good to watch the news all the time, but it's also good to stay informed and stay in the loop of what's happening in your country actively. For example, if pedophilia is being covered up by the highest, most powerful, influential, salient office in the world, which is the presidency of the United States, and Republicans voted to block the release of the Epstein files. And they're saying, it's like they have so many excuses, but the guy campaigned on releasing the Epstein files. And it's just like, and back to lust, the comments that he makes. And I know I'm forgetting some. I know, the many pictures that he poses with his daughter. Like, this is very, very gross. It's flawed. It is, incomprehensibly sinister and sinful, especially as a Christian. And for all you lovely, magnificent Christians out there who support Trump, I think you should wake up. I think you should really wake up, because you're supporting a malignant narcissist who doesn't give a shit about you. No, he doesn't. He doesn't care about you at all. He only cares about exploiting you, and he's doing it successfully, by the way. So he's doing, because he does have a certain amount of smarts. Let's give him that, because he knows how to, in a depraved manner, but he is very much rapidly deteriorating. He's getting more dense and more very, very dull, should I say, and witless in the most recent years because of the cognitive decline that he's facing, which that happens with humans. I get it. And also Biden, I would say, is getting more cognitively impaired, because you do as you get older. But the guy's aggressive. The guy is belligerent, and people still support him. People like, oh, this doesn't matter. I vote for him for policies, even though his policies are destructive to the middle class too. So nothing's good about this guy. Okay, next up is envy. So envy means it's more or less jealousy, but to a more severe extent, it's resentment and indignation towards others because they're jealous of them. Like Obama, he was very, very clearly jealous with Obama. I seen an article where it says he tweeted on average about 2.4 times daily in 2019 about Obama. 2.4 times a day tweeting in 2019. Just for a light example, he still says this about Biden. Calls his rivals, makes names for them, and he often takes the credit for and takes the appraisal, and he's not humble like you're supposed to be in the Bible. Biden's humble. Obama's humble. Obama doesn't walk around saying, oh, I did this, I did that, and I saved the country single-handedly. I was mine, I did it. No, it's not that, and that's not the case, because that'd be deceitful too, because you need Congress, you need checks and balances. A president can't just do that. And Donald Trump does it anyways with executive order after executive order, which is very unconstitutional. But he took credit for the cap on insulin at $35 a month. That was Biden's accomplishment. He took credit for the Inflation Reduction Act. He took credit for, I think he even took credit for the Chips and Science Act. He took credit for, I forget what act it's called, but it's a piece of legislation that actually created millions of jobs. 17 million jobs, actually, to be the right number. Clean energy jobs, clean energy-related sector jobs, and mostly benefiting and coming to advantage to rural areas, rural communities. And keep in mind, these are areas that didn't vote for Biden, but he delivered for them nonetheless, because that is the wholehearted person Biden is. And people can deny that too. That's what it was. The Inflation Reduction Act had that. He took credit for those. He took credit for some of the subsidies that some of the farmers get, that Biden signed into law. Donald Trump just blatantly took credit for it. And there's so many other examples. I can't think of any right now, but I'm sure you can see them. You can literally search them up yourself. So don't be lazy. Gluttony. That's the next one. So we're on the fifth one, and he's already blown the other ones out of the water. So I can't imagine how much this is. Gluttony. So this means basically an overindulgence in food, excessive eating habits that are very particularly morbidly unhealthy for the human body. And also in regards to taking money for people, being wasteful, being, wasting food, and being improper with it and not consuming it, and while other people starve to death. People in the country, or people across the world, would love to have some of the food that Donald Trump wastes. So this is, for example, this is one that comes to mind most recently. We see, what did he have, this huge banquet during his first term? He ordered a huge amount of cheeseburgers, and I think it was more than half of it didn't even get eaten. So he wasted, and you know who paid for that, right? The taxpayers paid for that. And we could talk about this. Oh, this isn't just food and drinks. I made a mistake when I said that. This is also appetites for wealth, power, and sex, which furthermore makes it even more exciting and more guilty on Trump's behalf. Because we have so many examples of this. Like, he plays golf. I believe I think it's like, and I might even be overindulgent. I might even be underestimating Donald Trump's horrendous atrocities, but I believe it's like 40% of his presidency thus far. Actually, I'm going to look that up and give you the exact number. So I found the exact numbers for his first term, and we'll get to the second term afterwards, but during his first term alone, and this is being very lenient, by the way. I'm being very nice by giving Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt, and I'm actually kind of sugarcoating it a little bit. But during Donald Trump's first term alone, then we'll go to the second term afterwards, but his first term alone, he spent roughly an estimation of 18 to 22% of his first term playing golf. 22%. And keep in mind, this was when people were dying from COVID. And it really spiked when that happened, too. So, like, when people were dying from COVID, it makes you think that he does it on purpose. Like, people are dying because of his ineptitude and his lack of prudence and the just incompetence and the inability to handle crises, to handle a pandemic. That pandemic was on his watch. He was the president of the United States. And what happens to the country ultimately falls on him. And how he handles it has a tremendous, momentous impact on everybody's lives. How the president of the United States handles a pandemic and the response to that. So at first, he didn't even acknowledge it was real. He said it was fake. He said it was just like the flu. It'll just go away. Then it got worse. He said it'll go away by summer. Then it got worse in the summer. It'll go away by winter. It got worse in the winter as well. And ultimately, 400,000 Americans have died, have perished, have lost their loved ones under Donald Trump, his first term. And he spent 22% of his presidency golfing. I want to cuss so bad because it's inconceivable. But that was just his first term alone. So during that period, it's estimated about 261 rounds of golf, which is about one every 5.6 days. 5.6 days as the highest office in the world. He's golfing. The president of the United States is golfing. This is a lazy, sleazy scumbag. Okay, he's a lazy. He wants to talk about other people. Oh, you need to work more. That's why he said we have too many off days in America. He just said that about, what was that day? I forget the day. The most recent holiday. Juneteenth, that's what it was. He doesn't want Americans to have Juneteenth off because he thinks, oh, we don't work enough. Meanwhile, he's golfing like this. The president of the United States, and we don't work enough. Like, what's going on, guys? But this is a regional breakdown, 106 times. I don't want all that information. I don't care. The point is, the guy is very lazy. He's a scummy president, and he doesn't care about anybody but himself. I mean, that's why he's doing things why people are dying. But I am going to look at the second term now. So, like I said, it is marginally higher than it was in his first term already. We're not even a year into the guy's presidency, and he's already destructing the country in the most way that involves turmoil and chaos humanly possible. But just this far, he spent around an estimation of 22 to 25% of his presidency playing golf, which is consistent with his pattern during his first term. His first term was 18 to 22%. Now it's 22 to 25%. So there's a month breakdown. I encourage you to look this up, to educate yourself, and to knowing that this is the president of the United States. Like, people do not understand that. They'll criticize workers for not showing up to work one day, which is not acceptable either. But, like, the president of the United States gets a free pass when he should be, this should be the most prestigious office. It should be the most professional office. And it's not. We're not seeing that right now. And this was early June, so I don't have the exact numbers and the statistics now, but I only know it's inflated then because it can't go down. I mean, it's already spent. But taxpayers have actually footed the bill, and it costed them $30 million so far in taxpayer money because of Donald Trump's senseless, by the way, and futile, pointless golfing trips. Oh, what do we get out of it? Oh, he gets to golf. He gets to have a good time and sit on his golf cart and just ride around like he does, putting makeup on. Like I don't know. I'm gonna move on. Number 6, wrath. So this is intense anger, vengefulness, and rage. It's like that's the one that he does the most. So, like professive profanity, lewd and unhinged rants on Twitter and Truth Social. This is every single day. And it's hard to give an example because it's every single day. Truth Social, you see his post. It's just an endless supply of slop. And he just insults people. He name calls crooked Hillary, crooked Biden, Sleepy Joe. And it's really telling of the character he is and what it portrays in him and what it portrays in his supporters for sucking up to him and being bottom-feeding bootlickers who are being cowards and bending the knee to the smug piece of shit in office that doesn't care about them at all. But again, he said he'd revoke the citizenship of Rosie O'Donnell, and literally, when he gets mad, he does things. He tried to overthrow the election, for example, with no evidence. Courts blocked it, so don't even go there. Oh, it was fraudulent. It wasn't fraudulent. And everybody who does a pint of research knows that, but you don't. You go to the farthest deep right, deep fake clippets on the internet, and then take their word for it over constant facts and authentications, like the court cases, every single one that he lost because there was no fraud at all. And all of the audits that were conducted in many states, all the ones that he lost, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, even New Mexico, which Biden won by 10 points, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, you name it. He claimed every state that he lost was fraudulent. He even said that California, he would have won California, a state that hasn't voted Republican since the 80s, if they legitimately counted the votes. Are you serious? Like, the guy is narcissistic beyond belief, and he knows he wouldn't have won it. He wasn't. He's acting pretentious and bluff like he always does. But they did audits, and they actually did one in Wisconsin, Georgia. I know those two states. They actually counted the audits, recounted the votes, and scoped the process. And Biden actually received more votes the first time, the second time than he did the first time. So he actually expanded on his lead. So what does that indicate? That indicates if there was fraud, it would have been fraud that helped Trump get elected and worked against the Democrats. And we've seen that in the last election too, with the whole thing with Elon Musk, who, by the way, even said himself that Trump wouldn't have won the election without him, which is very dubious and suspicious a little bit, isn't it? Is it not at all? And he's also made jokes about hacking voting machines. And we already know he's given $1 million handout checks to people to sign his super PAC and to support Donald Trump. He's thrown money and so much partisan power over top of Donald Trump's campaign to fund his crooked campaign and to steal the presidency from Kamala, which I believe it was, but we're not going to get into that at all. But again, even if it was, and this one, it clearly wasn't, but even if it was, it's important to accept the results of the election and concede, because that's what a leader does. And Trump can't do that. He just doesn't have it in him to do that. He doesn't have that potential in him. He's so vain in himself. He believes that he's God. He believes that he literally wants to be the God of Trump supporters. And he is. He is the God of Trump supporters, because no matter what he does, the guy can shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue, which he said himself he could do, and he wouldn't lose a single voter. He wouldn't lose a single support. Donald Trump said that himself. He knows that he's playing them with the bigotry and the hatred and the vitriol. And adultery. That's another thing that we talked about with the lust. And then there's also the last one, which, again, he broke immensely. It's like you can't even imagine how much, you can't even convey the great amount of intensity he broke this by, and it's sloth, which means laziness or spiritual anateria, which is neglecting responsibilities. Wow, just like how just literally a week ago he didn't send FEMA, or didn't send the National Guard to help with the devastating, by the way, hurricanes, or excuse me, floods that happened in Texas until 3 days later. 90 people already died, and he didn't send the military, the National Guard, until 3 days later. And also, they weren't the people, the newscasters and the people, the local residents and the local weather specialists and people that profess in that era didn't have the technology and the resources, because their funding got severely cut because Donald Trump came in and he slashed, I believe it was like $1 trillion from FEMA, $800 billion from the NOAA, which provides the merit and the substantive resources that are needed to detect and forecast future hazards like this and prevent them from happening. But they didn't have the technology because they didn't have the money to do it. And that's why this occurred. So it's like the guy is bringing on natural disasters, and it's so frightening and disheartening and disconcerting the amount of power one man can have, because he really does have a lot of power. People say, oh, the president can't do that much. He really can. There's ways that he can do it, and that's why he ran for a second term, because he had no idea what he was doing the first time. Now he actually has an idea how to manipulate people and how to fire everybody who gets in his way and tries to ring him back in and calm him down and bring him back into the center and bring him back to reality. The guy literally, this is off topic, but the guy literally said something about installing a lake, I believe it was, a pond at the southern border, filled with alligators and spikes. The guy is talking about maiming people, torturing people, immigrants who come to this country, and says, oh, that'll deter them from coming into this country. What about small children who don't have their parents with them and come through and get killed and get eaten alive by an alligator? Like, what is going on? He said he told one of his advisors that he wanted to nuke a hurricane. He called people, veterans across seas, suckers and losers. And this is coming from credible sources. People, I think it was his chief of staff, John Kelly, actually confirmed this. And this is the people that work closest with him. And that's off topic as well, but Mike Pence didn't even support him. And 40% of his cabinet during his first presidential term didn't support him in his re-election bid in 2024. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe it's because they actually saw who you were and know who you are firsthand, therefore are trying to warn the rest of the public, the American public. That's a huge astronomical number that is historic and unprecedented. 40% of his first administration did not support his second bid for presidency in 2024. That's deeply troubling, and people just ignore the fact that the closest people who served with him every single day and know his every move, know his nature, know how he acts, know how he conducts himself, know that he throws ketchup bottles when he's upset. This is confirmed by many people who's worked in his first cabinet, said that he does this, that he often loses his temper and does something belligerent as a 80-year-old individual who is the president of the United States. Like, where are we at, my friends? We can't be real. We can't be in real life right now. But this is the Bible predicted this as well. But yeah, back to the ignoring responsibilities with the seventh deadly sin, which is sloth. And same thing with COVID. It's just laziness, neglectfulness, things that can be done but won't be done because Trump doesn't feel like he should do them, doesn't feel that it's worth his time to help people while he's the president of the United States. He wants to be president so bad to abuse it. He wants to be an authoritarian leader, and that gives him, he's in that position, in that vulnerable, or in that very superior office, and he can do things to maneuver and twist how it's supposed to be handled. It wasn't meant to do this. And he's finding loopholes every single day to make things happen in his desire and his fashion. And if they don't, it's my way or the highway. I want you dead. I want you arrested. I want you sent away. I want you deported. That's why he threatens everybody. He threatens to deport Biden. He wants to indict Biden now, saying that Biden indicted him during his first term. No, this was independent people across the country. Biden had nothing to do with this. He did not direct any orders to go after Donald Trump whatsoever. And that's another thing. Every lie or every accusation made by Donald Trump is a confession. Every time he accuses somebody of something, we'll just say, for example, going after political opponents, going after political rivals, and people on the other side. He accused Biden of that. Meanwhile, Biden wouldn't even play into that because Biden is too classy of a person to do that. And maybe a little too classy, because I think Biden should have really gave it to Trump, but he didn't, unfortunately. He's too humbled and too modest, which Biden's going to heaven. So I guess it pays off in the long run. And I'm going to work my way to try and do that as well. But it's just like everything he says, he does. Everything that he accuses others of doing, it's a deflection tactic. This is what narcissists use, a projection tactic, to say, oh, that guy's doing something. Meanwhile, while the pinpoint is on the person, he actually does exactly what he says and professes and projects onto somebody else. And you will notice this with any instance regarding Donald Trump. Take any instance. Same thing with Jeffrey Epstein files. He said he was criticizing Biden afterwards, after the fact, for not releasing the Epstein files. And then now all of a sudden he's not releasing the Epstein files. He changes the story. And it's so disturbing. It's so dystopian. And it's rabid. And the guy said at first, Pam Bondi, one of his administrators, said, the Epstein files, along with the MLK and JFK files, are on my desk right now in the process of being reviewed. And then his administration proceeded to hand out binders. He invited far-right influencers to the White House and handed them out binders saying, it read on top, Epstein Files Phase 1. And they had this whole photo shoot and photo op and just wanted attention seeking like always. I mean, it's nothing new. It's just like a complete loop. It's a boundless, endless loop. But it went from that to that. Then it went to, the Epstein files don't exist. They don't even exist. They just poofed. They're gone. They don't exist. They're not there. And then after that, the day after that, by the way, after he said that they didn't exist, the day coming after that, proceeding, he said that they did exist. They do exist, but they were created. They were a hoax. They were a phony created by Obama, crooked Hillary, and Joe Biden. What? The guy, oh my gosh, dude. It's so, I don't know. It's so, I can't even describe the words in my head. I'm trying to do some examination and get some of these words that I believe, but you can't describe it with words. That's the problem. You can't enunciate and accurately express how to describe the guy, because he's indescribable, and you can't put any labels on him either, because I don't know, it's maniacal. There's a label, I guess, but that's an understatement, because it's worse than that. It's sinful, it's devilish, it's fiendish, it's despicable, it's diabolical. And it really is. It's the truth. I mean, people like to use that word for funny use, but it's not funny. And it may be funny how absolutely ridiculous this is, and how lewd and ludicrous and absurd it is, deeply absurd. But at the end of the day, it's not funny. People dying under his watch, civilians being killed, in Israel and Iran and everywhere, while he's taking money from the Israel's government, $230 million. And this guy says he's America first. That's another thing. Lies, constant lies, manipulation tactics. You can go on all day. Like everything about the guy. I will say one thing that I do agree with him on. One thing, or actually two things. Two things I agree with Donald Trump on. Ever. Literally, this is it. Recently, he was sending money to, or sending some kind of assistance to Ukraine to help against Russia's latest ramped up, exacerbated attack on Ukraine. And this is familiar because what did MAGA and Donald Trump and Republicans say in the last campaign trail? They criticized and lambasted Biden, right? And do you not remember this? Does people have amnesia, or am I going crazy, or what? Because didn't Trump just say last year that he was criticizing Biden for funding Ukraine, and then now he did it? He literally just did it to counter Russia and Putin's aggression, which is very ironic because Donald Trump's a dictator too. He's building concentration camps in this country right now. The guy is Alligator Alcatraz. 70% of people in Alligator Alcatraz, by the way, real number, authenticate it and look it up. 70% of the people incarcerated in Alligator Alcatraz have no criminal record. No criminal record. Back to my other thing that I like about Trump, that he did. One thing. I absolutely loathe the guy, by the way. I detest the guy. He makes me sick looking at him and talking, like seeing him on the news. That's why I don't watch him. I read things that he says. And then I do watch him. And I do read the shit that he says on a daily basis. But every time I do watch him, I get nauseous. It's like a visceral effect that happens. It's like by nature. It's like muscle memory. And it's trauma. It really is. And to a less extent. But the second thing about Trump is he signed criminal justice reform during his first term. This was, again, the one of only two things that I agreed with Donald Trump on: criminal justice reform, which actually helped fund through taxes on resources needed to have appropriate investigations into criminals, to make sure that people aren't being convicted of crimes that they didn't commit. And giving local law enforcement the resources that they need for that. But again, Donald Trump has spent his entire life and career defaming black people and refusing to lend, or refusing to rent. His Trump family and his organizations refused to rent and sell to African American individuals, and was actually sued by the Nixon administration. So those are the two things that I can say that Donald Trump did a good job at. But there's literally millions of things that he's done bad. That's it. The guy, you cannot, and I will say this, I don't say this lightly either. I say this wholeheartedly. If you still support the guy, I don't want anything to do with you. I really don't. And I'm not sorry. It's just the difference of morality and values and principles that we have is on a completely different scale and measurable, and such a stark divergent contrast that we have. So if you still support him after all of this, and you're still twisting yourself into pretzels, going back on your own words and eating your own words, then I cannot feasibly have any respect for you. I cannot. It's just not within my nature. It's not. It's not within my faith, because I am a Christian, and seeing people hide behind this religion to justify Donald Trump, who is, again, the most sinful individual in American history, I just can't do it.